Right, this is a small video that I said I would do for the user LBJ on BlenderArtists, because he was having an issue. He'd basically created a little UFO, didn't know how to texture it, so I did a basic texturing, which was based in this instance. Oh, just clean these slots, bear with me. Was just basically putting a black line in and giving it this sort of look with what ostensibly is a sort of car paint shader thing, using for an L that I got from somewhere on BlenderArtists in the past of how to do it. As you can see, it's a sort of silver with a hint of blue. If I change the colour, you can change the look of it. He then said it was missing the antenna that the original model had. Also, his render was purple, and that of course was because I hadn't actually provided the HDR, which was the environment. So that's all that was with the purple, as he needs to go and find a HDR. And then it was a question of he changed the number of windows and he wanted it redoing, and he was complaining about the missing antenna. So I thought, well, I'll just show him how to do this instead of him sort of just asking people and actually not being able to progress his own skills. So obviously the antenna is the easy thing, because all you need to do is select the antenna. If I deselect it initially, do a Shift D, P, separate it, and then you've just got your own separate antenna. And I would just move that to its own layer. I'll stick it on layer 5. So that's that. And then if I wanted to, I could again duplicate that, move that to layer 2, and just snap it to the cursor, shift select the object, Control J, and that immediately joins it to that. Now, because this object is using sub D, it looks weird, so I'll just do Control 0 to effectively hide the sub D. Select all of that, Shift hide. We don't need that, we never see it, so I delete that face. And then it would be just a question of doing an insert on that top face to create a ring. Do a Control R there, Control B. This is just a quick way of putting 2 loop cuts in at once. Same there, Control R, Control B, 2 loop cuts. Then just a single Control R, drag that loop cut up. Alt H and U to unhide everything. Alt H don't need to, sorry, the U would be in object mode. Control 2, go into object mode, and then your antenna's nice and clean. So that would have sorted out the antenna bit. As for the change in windows, with the number of faces I'd actually chosen, which was 48, going to 5 windows would always leave me with 1 extra polygon that was either that was the wrong colour. So, like, you know, you would say end up with, say, a 2, a 2, a 2, a 2, a 3, and a 2. So it wouldn't be uniform. And the easiest way in that case is actually to just create it from scratch again. So what I'd do is I would create a torus. Well, you could do 2. You could either create a circle or a cylinder. And say 45. Then you've got sort of 2 ways of tackling this, and I'll just duplicate this, move that to layer 4, and I'll show you the two ways that are possible. I would put the layer 2 in the background so I knew what I was working with, or indeed layer 1. Then go into edit mode, go into wireframe mode. This object, go to object, and while we're working we'll show all edges so we can see what we're doing. Okay, now go into edit mode. So I'll put my pivot point to medium point so it's dealing with what I'm working with. Just select that, move that up to the, select everything, scale, Shift Z. Actually undo that, I just realised my display keys aren't running. Here we go. So scale, Shift Z, and I can just sort of bring that in a bit. Then I can do a Control R, bring that down to there. You're basically just looking where your shifts are, so you Control R, bring that to there, Control R, and bring that to there for now. There it is, I couldn't see it for looking. So I'll select that middle ring, scale, that drags that out to there. Z8, and what I'll probably do is just put X-ray on so I can always see this. Select that, scale that, goes to there, move it up a bit, scale it in a bit, same with that, select that one, scale that to there. Then you want to bump in that, so do a Control ridge in there, just zoom in, scale that, move it up on the jet, scale it a bit, go back into wireframe so I can see the rest of it. Right, this has got so do another Control R, bring it down to about there, scale that, that makes it more in that shape. Do a Control R here, bring it down to about there, scale that, Control R, scale that in a bit, go back into object mode, turn on X-ray, so that would be roughly the layout you've got there. And then again, Control 2 puts it into sub D, and it's just a question of adding edge loops. So small insert on that, do the same on the bottom, small insert, and everywhere else it's just a question of adding edge loops. So again, do a Control R or Control B and put both edge loops in at once. I'll do a Shift 1 now to hide the original one, and then just start adding edge loops, so Control R, Control R, Control R, Control R. And just firms that up a bit, and then you want your windows, so do a Control on there, do a Control B to give me roughly the height of the windows I want. Just add another couple of edge loops there. Then, sort of taking it from the top, you want to select 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, that would be 6, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. So there are your 5 windows. So create a couple of materials, hollow 2, and create another one, window 2, okay, window 1 even, window 2. Click assign, so these are now assigned to it. Just give it a black colour for now, so we can see the difference. Right, now what we want to do then is just switch to individual origins, do an insert ever so slightly, then an extrude, and just push them in slightly. And then do a Control R and just tighten these up. And the same here, Control R, tighten those up. GG to slide it if you've moved it and you want to move it further. So select those, select similar by perimeter, do a Control plus, Control I, and then make sure all of them are assigned to Hull 2 to clean up the windows. So there's your windows. Hit smooth so it looks nice and pretty. You want the black line, well, depending on where you want it, say you want it on these, hold down Alt and in my case left click, and then Alt Shift left click, and we'll just use window. You could create a third one, but seeing as it's black it doesn't really matter. And there's your 5 ones. So that's one way of doing it. The other simple way would be where you just take the one thing and you just extrude that downwards. And we're going to wireframe mode. So you just take that, scale it, and this is just a preference thing, so you could do E-return, drag it down, scale it, E-return, push it down, scale it, E-return, push it down, scale it, E-return, down, scale in, E-return, down, scale in, switch back to that, go into and do F for face, select everything and invert the normals. That's why it's black instead of silver. So that gives you more or less the same result, and again then you just, if we select the other one, you just then go about adding your loop cuts like you did with the other one. So you add your loop cut in here, GG to drag it down a bit, then scale to bulge it out. And then again, same here, add a loop cut, scale it out, gives you that bump there. And again, you do the same on the bottom. I'm not going to repeat that process because it's all the same thing. And once you've done all of that, again, in object mode, you can go to your original object. I'll turn off show all wire now, I don't need that. Go into the edit mode, Control L, Shift D, P selection, come out, take that, move it to the same layer that your other object is on, select that, Control J, smooth, Control 2, and then again just go in and tidy up your edge loops. So dump, insert, loop cut, Control R, Control B. And a fast way to get a really tight loop cut is do your bevel, and then before you do it else, press F6, change the amount from offset to %, and change the amount to 0.9, or, sorry, 95. And that's 95%, so that'll give you 2 type loop cuts in there. Same there, Control R, Control B, drag it a bit, do an F6, 95. So it's all repetitive stuff. You only need to know 2 or 3 keystrokes really to get the maximum done. Now when you do a Control B here, because you're in % mode, it's very slow. So to speed it up, you simply go back, change it to offset, and then just really drop down your offset. And you can control that manually as well if you want. And that will again give you that, and then once again you go in and do your setting of the windows. So that's really all there is to it. And as you can see, I was using very simple commands all the time. E for extrude, Control R, Control B, and scaling. And with your scale and anything else, if I put a loop in, I can G, Shift Z. Now I can move that anywhere on the XY, but it won't go up or down no matter what I do. Likewise, if I just do GZ, it will only go up or down. So it's a great way of constricting while you're working. And you can do scale X, only scales on the X axis. And you can just press Y and it'll switch to Y. Z won't do anything in this instance because everything's on the one plane. For the Z to work, you'd have to rotate it like that, then scale Z. And if you press 0, that'll actually flatten it out. But they're all the very basic commands, and they give you most of what you want to actually model. So, hope this helps.